Well, AJT Jungle, we are going to get into our next segment of the trading mindset. Can't believe, how much we've done and worked through this year already. Seems like it's moved pretty quickly. But today I want to talk about something. It is controversial to a certain extent. You still have these people who don't believe that you have to take losses or that you don't have to risk a a significant amount in order to make money. But the reality is, once you get into trading, once you get into this, you'll realize that taking a loss is part of this, and there is an art form to it. There is a mindset that you have to have coming into this. It's the same mindset, small business owners have when they get ready to start their business. So we're going to talk about that, a little bit deeper, but let's review what we talked about last week. So no matter whether you've traded for a few years or a few days, your level of patience and self-discipline is crucial. Now, as I've thought about this, I've come to understand that patience, when we look at it as a tool, as an emotional trading tool, we talked about how it divided into two different elements. We've got the new trader patience, the patience that new traders, are trying to develop. And then we have the experienced or professional trader patience, which is what everybody's trying to reach. That level of patience that everybody's trying to reach. So the beginner, your need for patience is simple, but it's challenging. It's all about being resilient because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to go through the fire. But those that are able to stick it out and learn from their mistakes, those are the ones that are gonna do really good. All right, so it's like somebody that's starting a diet, trying to stick to a particular way to eat. Um, these guys, they'll try to take the easy way out. Instead of trying to change their whole diet and exercise routine, they try to find the newest and greatest pill they can take. Now you've got people injecting diabetes medicine into their stomachs, trying to lose weight, trying to find a better way to lose weight versus trying to work on their diet. Now, the people that are working on their diet and doing these things, that's fine. But I'm talking about the ones who are trying to just shortcut the process. So impatience in new traders reminds me of those guys that are trying to take the easy way out. Some of them, like I said, they get this diabetes drug. They may get this stomach surgery, or all of this just to try and lose weight and lose weight faster. But are they learning anything? Is that going to benefit them in the long run? They may see short-term benefits, but in the long run, it's not going to work because the weight's just going to come back. So trading patiently is not hopeless for you. It requires ideas to solve the problem and stick to your improvement plan. It's not your willpower holding you back. It's the process that you don't have right now, that you have to develop. It's what's hurting you. Okay, it can happen. And that's one of my biggest jobs here, is to help you guys develop that patience. If you're wondering, why can't I get the results that this person is getting? I'm trading the same stocks. I'm trading the same strategy. I'm following what they're teaching me. Why can't I do it? Look in the mirror. It's understanding who you are, developing the skills that you need in order to execute. Okay, that's what has to happen. And that's my big focus here. Because once you get that, you can go anywhere and make money. But you got to get that. And there's no shortcut. Alright, so let's get into the art of taking a loss. So every trader should know that losses are a part of the trading process. Now, there are good losses and bad losses. Now, think about this. How do you feel if you take a trade off and the stock continues to go opposite your initial position? It's like, man, this isn't working. Let me pull it. I'm just going to pull it. Before, it triggers anything, a stop or anything like that. You pull it off. And you feel good. You're happy. Okay, it's beautiful because you saved yourself a couple of bucks. Now, what if the stock immediately turns around after you pull it and moves in your direction? You get pissed off, right? You're mad because, number one, you took it off. You didn't let the chart tell you that the trade wasn't working. You just had this feeling and you took it off, and as soon as you took it off, it started going right and it hits your targets and you're sitting there pissed off. Okay, that's how your emotions work against you in the market. Because if you make a good decision, you're going to be happy and you're going to feel good about what you're doing. And actually, the next trade, if it doesn't work, you're still going to be happy. You're not going to be as upset as if the first trade didn't work out, and it didn't work out because of what you did. And then the next trade, you trade perfectly and you lose. Man, you're in that downward spiral. And you haven't learned how to accept those losses. But I know you've heard this before, and you probably heard it from many different people. But losses are a part of trading. They are. There's no way to avoid it. To deal with this fact, you've got to adapt a new mindset. It's called a trader's mindset. So contrary to popular belief, trading is a business. And every business has expenses that reduces their profit. But guess what? If they don't have those expenses, they won't make a profit. Okay, so in essence, you have to incur loss in order to make money. You start out at a loss in order to make money. So when we take a trade and we invest whatever we invest in a trade, we start out behind. We start the trade behind because we start investing X amount of dollars with no return. All right, so you can't run a business and you can't trade without expenses. Therefore, our trading losses are our business expense. Just like the platform fees we pay or the fees we pay for tools, trading tools, they're our business expense. Okay, and if we're going to trade, we're going to have to accept the losses, the trades that don't work. So, naturally, a business owner wants to keep their expenses down so that they're more profitable, right? But how do they do that? They learn from their mistakes. Even, they may not buy enough inventory. What happens to a business when the business doesn't have enough inventory and it runs out of inventory? What happens to the business? It goes under. And a lot of business owners are too scared to invest enough money because they feel that they may lose it. They're so focused on trying not to lose, they can't make money and their business suffers. Okay, so hopefully, if they try to shortchange themselves and run out of let's say they run out of whatever they're selling and they can't make any more money, and the word gets around that, hey, don't worry, they never keep enough in stock. You need to go to this place over here. They always have it. And if they don't learn from that, they're going to lose their business. But the best traders and the best businessmen, they learn from their losses. So we learn how to assess our loss and gain that experience that we need so that we don't make the same mistakes 2 or 3 times. Okay, if we're sitting here trading and every time we take a trade, we're buying into supply, or better, we're buying into resistance, what supply is. You're buying into that, and every time you buy in, let's say 7, 8 times out of 10 you buy in, you lose. Okay, so hopefully you'll learn from that. It's like, look, maybe I shouldn't buy into resistance. Maybe I shouldn't buy into that support. I mean that supply of sellers. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And you adjust your trade, and you've learned from that loss. Okay, so the art of taking a loss, number one, is learning how to assess your losses and gain those valuable experience. That's through journaling and reflection, and that's truly an art form. Okay, but one of the things that I want you to do, that I want you to understand, is you can't get data from when you're trading all over the place. If you're not following a set rule in trading, or set rules of engagement, then what you're doing is you're creating data that doesn't make sense. And you're not able to learn from it. So if you think about it, when you were back in science, in your science class, and you did experiments, you had constant variables. And without those constant variables, or if you didn't keep those variables constant, your experiment would not work. It's the same thing with our trading. If we don't keep our trading constant and we don't get, usable data, we're going to keep going around and around and around and around and around. It's truly an art form. Excuse me. Alright, so let's look at tennis. I know a lot of you guys play tennis. Alright, so let's look at it. In professional tennis, about 80% of the points are actually won. Okay, they're won. In amateur tennis, about 80% of the points are actually lost. Okay, they're lost because they don't have the skill set that they need in order to actually win the points, meaning put their opponent at a disadvantage by being able to move the ball around, put different spins on the ball, use different speeds. They don't have that ability yet. Okay, so about 80% of their points are, what they call in tennis unforced errors. Unforced errors. So professional tennis players will force errors upon their opponent. And if their opponent makes too many unforced errors as well, then they get decimated. But professional tennis is a winner's game. The final outcome is determined by the activities of the winner. Okay? Amateur tennis is a loser's game. The final outcome is determined by the activities of the loser. Does that make sense? If you're playing something and you really have no idea how to put spin on the ball, how to, spin the second serve in to where it makes it hard for, doesn't make it easy for the other player to return it. Or hit a flat serve on your first serve to try and, ace them. And if you don't know how to do all of that, if you're a beginner, you're losing everything. But guess what? As you're going through the process, you should start learning how to do that. You should start learning how to hit these shots. So again, beginner players lose because they make most of the mistakes, unforced errors. So their mindset is to just get the ball back over the net and let their opponent, who is likely an amateur as well, make the mistake. Okay, most of these errors are unforced, meaning their opponent didn't put them in a position to lose a point. They did based on their lack of skill and patience. Amateur tennis players make the transition to advanced and professionals by learning how to first eliminate unforced errors, then learning how to be patient and read their opponent's weaknesses and how to attack them. And that takes patience. Okay? And it's just like when you're playing somebody for the first time. You might have seen them play, you might have watched them play somewhere, but until you get there and experience the balls that they're hitting you, you really don't know. And then if you're patient enough to kind of take all that in, let a couple of games pass, and then you will be able to see their weaknesses and you'll be able to attack it. And trading's kind of the same way. Okay, I think you figured it out. The amateur tennis player is just like the beginner trader. We have a lot of unforced errors. And we've talked about all of them in this program. All right, we talk about all of them in this program. To advance in our trading, we have to learn how to eliminate these unforced errors. Instead of focusing on ways to win, okay, some of us, we focus on ways to not lose. And that's not a good That's not a good thing to do. Okay, we don't just want to focus on not to lose. We want to focus on how to win. Because what's happening is as a beginner trader who's trying to just get the ball over the net, we're just trying not to lose, right? I don't need to put this focus. This is not right. I'm sorry. I typed this wrong. I'm sorry. All right, that's right. So instead of focusing on ways to win, we tend to first focus on ways not to lose. And that's not what we want to do. Okay? And this is going to take a new way of thinking. The trader's mindset. It's all about eliminating mistakes and inverse thinking. Instead of looking at ways, I did it backwards again. Why did I do this backwards? Dyslexia kicking in. Okay, instead of looking at ways to not lose, you must study the most common ways, the most common mistakes and simply focus on avoiding them. All right, we've got to focus on how to win. All right, we've got to focus on how to win. All right, so this is going to take a new way of thinking, a new mindset. Okay, we're looking at this differently. Instead of looking at ways to not lose like most beginners do, we need to look at, we should study the most common mistakes that we make and then simply focus on avoiding them, which we're focusing on how to win. Not lose, but we're focusing on how to win. So we've got good losses, versus bad losses. Good losses versus bad losses. Good losses are those that are taken as planned according to your trading plan and your process. This is a good loss because you were prepared for it and you reacted accordingly. This is an acceptable business expense. Alright, bad losses are those that are taken out of greed, fear, or panic as you deviate from your trading plan. This may be a result of impulse trading driven by fear of missing out, or FOMO. Jumping impulsively into a trade and weathering initial pullbacks until the pain was too much and stopping out in panic. That sounds familiar to me. I don't know how familiar it sounds to you, but it does sound familiar to me. And it happens to everyone at some point. Everyone has had bad losses. The key is to recognize and learn from them. In fact, bad losses can be some of the most valuable lessons because they're the most painful type of losses. And we know from our studies that the feelings of loss stay with us 2.5 times more or longer than the feeling of winning. That pain from loss stays with us 2.5 times longer than that pain of a win. So pain is a great teacher if you only listen to it. I know pain is something that we're told that we need to avoid. And once, it's just like we stick our hand on a hot stove and we burn it. We don't do it anymore unless it's an accident. Okay, we don't stick our hand in fire after the first time. If we do get burned by fire, it's an accident, right? So, pain is a great teacher. You just have to listen to it. So if the pain of taking a trade off and then watching my trade continue to go without me, that pain should cause you to learn that lesson. Stick to your trading plan. Stick to your trading plan. If you don't stop out, and the stock just keeps running, and it kills your account, that pain should teach you. Should teach you a very valuable lesson. Alright, so every loss presents a lesson. When you take a loss, it's human nature to grade the loss based on what happened to the stock after you got out. Okay, but that's only a natural part of the learning process. Does the quality of your loss depend on what the stock does after you get out? No. The question is, did you follow your plan or not? If you followed your plan and the trade kept going, if the trade kept going, right? If it kept going, and your stop was I'm confusing myself. Hold on a second. If you get out according to plan, all right, if you get out according to plan, and the trade keeps going, it keeps going and going and going, all right, it's not a bad trade. Okay, it's not a bad trade. It's not a loss. You followed your plan. Okay, so it's not a bad loss. Okay, now if that happens to you several times, then you have something tangible that you could focus on and say, hey, look, I'm getting out of these trades and it seems like I'm getting out too early. Okay, I'm not really making the profit I need to make on this. So you change up how you develop your trade plan, and then you follow it. So the quality of the loss, or however you negative feelings you have about it just because it went on without you, or you stopped out according to your plan and then it turned around and it worked. Those are learning opportunities. And those are the ones that we need to focus on and help adapt your plan to. Because all it takes is to determine whether it was a good loss or bad loss. Okay, a bad loss, you learn from it. If it's a good loss, you did your job. Okay, and there may be an opportunity down the road to learn from that as well. Because you can have a lot of good losses, where you stuck to your plan, but you left a lot of, you know, money on the table. You did your job, but there may be some things that you can do better, and you can learn from that as well. So taking loss is an art form. It's it's separating them into good and bad losses, and then focusing on, you know, if is there a reason that you lost, and is this happening constantly? Is it happening consistently? And then we kind of move on from there. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Uh, any questions? All right.